What's going on, everyone? AP over here, Run Pure Sports. Bring it to you once again. We have the Lineup Builder Show. I'm here with my two guys. We got Snyder, we got Uncle T, and we got the Charles Schwab this week at Colonial Country Club. But first, let's bring our guys in. Uncle T, you're in the one hole tonight. Obviously, you got to go, 2 days? PGA Championship last week. Is that right? We got to hear about the weekend, man. It was a fantastic event. I think I actually broke even on the button. Me and you, we actually, broke even with our bets too. We should have played all four of those golfers in the lineup, and I didn't, like an idiot. But tell us about your week, man.
Yeah, good to be back with you two again this Tuesday. Again, I say it all the time. It's a fun show for me. Love being on here with you two, break down some golf. But no, it was a fun time. There's no doubt about it. I was down there all day, Saturday and Sunday. So the whole weekend I did drive home, went back the next day. But it was a lot of fun for me. I don't get to too many events as much as I love golf. I think the last time I went to an event was at Firestone up at Akron, and they haven't had that in, maybe 3 or 4 years. I'm not even sure. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun for me to be up close, obviously, with, Saturday I pretty much walked a lot of the ground. I mean, this property is just massive. And I know they're all probably big, but this property is just a really neat piece of, piece of property where they put this course. And I thought the setup was pretty good going into the week. I mean, I know last week on the show, I think I might have predicted maybe 10, 12 under. I think Snyder might have predicted maybe up to 15. And if you look outside, guys, of Xander 21, Bryson 20, I think Hovland when he three-putted 18, finished 18. Other than those three, I think the guys that filtered in behind them from 4 on back were at 15 under. So all things considered, I know it got a lot of talk on Twitter and such. With the rain that they got, they had no wind. It was hot, humid. I think the course held up fairly well from that standpoint, to be honest. I think it was getting a little bit, maybe too many shots taken at it. I think it was definitely a good test of golf. Xander played good all week. Obviously, he started off real well and then kind of hung on. And Bryson, like I said, Saturday I was there all day. I kind of tried to want to get around and kind of watch, see a lot of the holes, maybe see a lot of the different golfers. Sunday, I kind of just settled in and wanted to watch Bryson. Obviously, I had a nice outright on Bryson. I picked him on the show last week. I had a little above almost 2x on my money last week. But if Bryson would have somehow pulled it off, I'd have had the outright. And then my main team obviously had Bryson with a 6 of 6. So that team played pretty well. But if I could have got that first place, the first place points there instead of second, and then the outright would have been really big for me. But no, a lot of fun. Went there with my boys on Saturday. That was a lot of fun. And then went with some other people on Sunday. So, all in all, a very, very fun week. I'll probably for sure will do it again if it gets anywhere close, but fun time.
Yeah, good stuff, man. I saw that post, obviously, by you, and just a cool experience, obviously, with your boys there. I think you ran pretty pure with Alex Norn, too. What a round. What a call. I'll give you that. What a call by you.
I just keep playing.
I thought I was going to scoop you, man. Hovland was owning JT, absolutely owning him, dusting him. And it was Keegan Bradley that I had, I think, against Alex Norn. Alex Norn absolutely nuked on us. I mean, he played well, but then really got the job done on Sunday. So great calls there. We should have just played all 4 of those guys that we had 1v1s against. If we would have done that, it would have been a really, really nice week for sure. Snyder, what's going on, my man? How was your week last week?
I was all right. I was pretty much right on with the studs last week. I had an outright on Morikawa. He shit the bed on Sunday. I also had a smaller outright on Bryson. I was hoping he was going to get there. He didn't. Up top, what was good for me last week, the values did not really come through for me there. I played some Denny. I played some Sepp. I played a couple of guys that didn't really play that well. But all in all, it was a solid event. I thought it was a good finish on Sunday. I thought there was a lot of fireworks on Sunday. There was a star-studded leaderboard there. I thought there was 3 to 4 guys that were right in chance to win that thing.
Xander Schauffele is finish the sentence for me, buddy. Xander Schauffele is up.
I got a autograph. Someone told me that a while ago, but
Xander Schauffele is a winner.
big congrats to Xander for finally winning
done, man.
A big event. You gotta tip the hat to Xander for finally being able to close one of those out after what he did the week before. Yeah, it's good to see him. He's a good guy. He deserves to win one of those too. So it was good to see. I always like Xander. Back, what was that? A couple years ago, we were playing him all the time as well. So I mean, he was like a cash lock. I thought I had him as a cash lock on the cash chart. I had a top 10 bet on him, and I actually had a big top 20 bet on him. I was surprised that the books were laying minus 125 on him, the top 20 last week. So that was my biggest bet. So that cashed through. So it was a pretty solid week after that and such.
Yeah, I ended up being slightly overweight on Xander, which definitely helped. I had a lot of Bryson too. We talked about him. I was obviously pulling for him as well, especially with both knee houses in attendance, watching him down the stretch. What a performance that guy put on. I mean, absolutely incredible. Some of those shots that he had, insane, absolutely insane. And yeah, people like complaining about the course. Dude, there's nothing that you can do when it's that wet, that soft, and the weather is doing absolutely nothing. So I thought it was a great event. And yeah, let's move on though. Obviously,
AP, can I just add one other thing? I meant
nope.
Just in
yeah, go ahead.
No, just in general, because obviously Xander led from the beginning. But obviously, I forgot to mention just the and we all knew it. You all probably see it just on TV. The support, JT, our guy, it was crazy, the support, obviously. And they get that, these local guys, when they play next to their, home course or what have you, they're going to get that. But it was just nuts, the support that JT got. But outside of that, the next guy in line, even a little bit more than Scotty, even after all the stuff that happened Friday morning, was Bryson. And it's kind of I don't know that it's fully shifted around from a couple years back when everybody was trying to, find a reason to just not like the guy, period. It has nothing really to do with golf. They just didn't like him as a person and how he came across as whatever. I think it's kind of switching around a little bit. I'm not saying people love him. I mean, Snyder's never going to love him, but I do think his whole aura about him and stuff, I do think has turned it around where, again, we're not going to see him now because he still, just plays the majors. But anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting that outside of JT, Bryson was the guy that was really getting the biggest following.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He's doing a great job growing the game, younger generation, just with his golf channel. I actually watch it quite a bit. It's really entertaining, some of the different series that he has on his YouTube channel. So, no, I mean, I tweeted out, I'm like, it sucks that we can't see this guy. And a lot of those live guys on a week-to-week basis or even, every other week. I think that's really missing right now because I don't watch a lot of live golf. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I probably will start to watch it a little bit more just because like watching a ton of baseball games isn't like the most exciting thing. I love researching, breaking down baseball, but I would actually rather watch golf. And a lot of people think that's boring too, but I really would. And I haven't watched a ton of live golf. I might now that like NBA is almost over and stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I digress.
The one thing he's done too is he was 210. Obviously we know all about the rankings and the points that the guys that have gone over, but he finished T6 at the Masters and then solo 2 second this week. He jumped up to 35th. So obviously it's not really going to matter a whole lot, but it's interesting that two tournaments that he finished so high, he just moved up that quick just because of how everything's set up now. But yeah, let's kind of get into the Colonial.
Let's do it, Snyder. Kick it over to you. Colonial Country Club, a little bit of restoration, redesign coming in this year. Give us a course breakdown.
Yeah, the tour heads back to Texas this week for the Charles Schwab here at Colonial Country Club. This track was just renovated last year by the great Gil Hans, who did a complete redesign to the old Perry Maxwell design here. The course will now play at 7,289 yards. And it's going to play as a par 70. The greens are going to still feature bent grass. They are seeded with the 007 variety of bent. They're going to be running around 12 to 13 on the step meter. These new greens often tend to be much firmer early on, and they're going to measure right around 5,000 square feet on average. The course is going to have 6 holes with water in play. The fairways are going to measure 25 to 30 yards wide on average, so it's kind of a little narrow off the tee. A lot of people are going to compare this track to a harbor town as well. They've got 64 bunkers that are going to be on the property right now, as they did take some of them out and turn them into grass bunkers last year in that restoration. Some of the other key stats we're looking at is strokes gained approach, bogey avoidance around the green play, proximity 200 plus, and then putting with an emphasis on bent grass.
Mute.
Such a donkey. I forgot I did that.
Let you go.
I know. No, I mean, host of the show, it's always bad when the host does that. I've liked this event. Ball strikers typically do very well. Good iron players. We've seen that with Jason Kokrak winning. Griot last year, that playoff with Adam Schenk was awesome. I recall that pretty vividly. Daniel Berger's done very well here. Justin Rose, Kevin Kisner. The short hitters can get it done. Makes things pretty interesting. I also have a heavy emphasis on approach play and iron play as well. Let's get into it. This is the new format of the show. We're going to go tier by tier. We're going to introduce golfers into our player pool. We're going to bump them up and down based off of their baseline value based projection. And it's going to give us, here's like my takeaway. And I've had a ton of fun doing this. For me, as kind of like a first build, doing this live with you guys on the show, it gives me a little bit of context to how roster construction for me is going to set up. Because I think you do want to take it a step further. Add in your different stats, your models, etc., to emphasize the golfers you like a little bit more. But for me, it's really helped things out from a roster construction standpoint. And I think it's even more interesting this week because Scotty, 13K, 13.3. And then, you have this other range down here, Morikawa, Spieth, Homa, Finau, and then, the 9Ks as well. So I know we're all going to like Scotty and we're about to get into it, but I still think from a roster construction standpoint, in my mind, it's like, what does Scotty need to do to basically land in that preferred build that we want? So let's get after it. Uncle T, let's start with you. 10K and up range, Max Homa up to Scotty Scheffler. What are you doing with the studs this week?
Yeah, it's interesting. Similar to last week, I was talking to Snyder pre-show. I don't like the 5 and 6K range as much as I have in the last couple weeks. As far as diving in there, 13.3 for Scotty. Like you said, he's 2.5 to 1 to win the golf tournament, which is as short a number I've seen in a while on an outright. Obviously, he's been 3 or 4 or 5 pretty much all year, but 2.5 to 1 to win the golf tournament. 13.3, it gives you a little less than 7,400 or so, 73 and change, I think it is. Makes it difficult this week. I'm seeing around 40% now. He could get upwards of 45 or 50% ownership, and deservedly so. There's nothing bad that any of the three of us clearly are going to say about Scotty. There's no doubt about that. But you're right. From a roster construction standpoint, you can go down if you wanted 2,300 to Morikawa or even more, almost 3K to Spieth, and then obviously Homa, and maybe you get an extra player or two in. You get an extra 9K guy, maybe an extra 8K guy. I'm not full fading Scotty. I'm just pretty much never going to full fade. But I think I might come in under the field. If he's 40 or 45%, I'm going to be under the field on Scotty at 13.3. So I'll kind of leave that at that. Obviously, the round he had last week on the third round on Saturday, he shot a 73. The other rounds he crushed. So, he didn't have Teddy Scott on the bag. I do think that had a little bit to do with it. I don't know if it had all to do with it, but I do think that had played a little bit of part in the 73. But then going down a little bit, obviously, to Morikawa. I was on him a little bit earlier, and I think I'm going to kind of move off of him here. 11K. It's his highest price tag that I can recall, at least in the last calendar year. So obviously a big boy price tag. He's got to feel a little bit let down. He played great for 3 days, like I mentioned, at the PGA, and just couldn't make any birdies on Sunday when, the birdies were out there 4, 5, 6, 7 under, and he's sitting there just in neutral. So I do think there's just naturally going to be a little bit of a letdown going into this tournament for Morikawa, and he's going to have ownership, 26% ownership at 11K. I'll probably pass on Morikawa, but he's definitely obviously playing really well. Jordan Spieth is interesting because I haven't played him in 5-6 weeks.
Back on your boy, Mr.
I don't
Spieth.
know that I am or not. It just feels like now. Listen, now a couple of the tournaments, going back a couple months, and I can pull them up. That he pulled me back in because of the course history. I'm like, okay, he's not in the best form, but he's going to go back to a place where he's played well. That hasn't helped. That hasn't worked for me. So I'm kind of feel like I'm getting pulled back in a little bit here. Again, he's almost $3K cheaper than Scheffler. And here's the big thing. Only 10% is what I'm seeing. So he's going to be quite a bit less owned up in this top range. So I think I'm going to be in on Spieth. He won here in 2016. Obviously, he has the elite history. He had a solid 3 rounds last week, but then had a rough Sunday, 73 on Sunday, obviously backed up a little bit. I'm going to probably have some shares and interest in Jordan Spieth. And then the last guy here is Homa. I just don't think Homa's going to make the cut for me this week. Again, he's going to be over 20%, a big hefty price tag, 10-4. If I play Scotty, even if I'm under the field and I like Jordan a little bit, I don't think I can play Homa here either. Although I do feel like a win's coming soon for Homa. I will say that I do feel like he has been trending, playing some good golf. I feel like he's ready to get back in the winner's circle again. I just don't think it'll be this week.
All right, how about this? Can I get Tony Finau against Jordan Spieth?
No, you got to wait till the next segment. Tony might be my favorite player of the week.
Oh, okay. I mean, he's a lot cheaper. He's a lot cheaper against your boy. So, okay. Snyder, let's go to you. I think I know what you're doing up here, but talk to us about this 10K and up range.
Yeah, I just don't think we need to overthink it this week. I think Scotty will probably be 40% owned. Maybe he probably should be 70% owned, I think, in this event. I've never seen a guy in the last, I don't know how many years since Tiger's been playing with the odds where it is now. I mean, he's getting hit hard on Penny in some matchups, and just looking at the form that he's coming in with, and he was T3 here last year after he lost like 5 strokes putting here last year, was second the year before, comes off of the top 10 last week. He had the worst round he's had on that Saturday since round 3 at the Tour Championship last year. So, I mean, that was a big thing. I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with him getting arrested, Friday morning. He said he didn't even hardly eat Friday. He had a little bit of eggs and like a piece of bacon, he said, in the morning. And usually he's a big eater, he says.
A piece of bacon? He ate a piece of bacon?
A piece of bacon and a few eggs, he said. But he said he got home at before he went to bed that night, Friday night. He's like, oh, I forgot to eat today. I think he was kind of a little drained, a little adrenaline dump. He didn't have Teddy Scott there Saturday as well. So he definitely did not look like himself there. And then Sunday he bounces right back with what he usually does there. I think I'm going to actually look at like alt lines this week too. I think Scotty's just going to dust this field. I mean, the guy's in this field and he's been just mowing these big type of fields down, API, the Players, the Masters, the RBC. I mean, he was just mowing those fields down. And now he comes into a watered down field at home in Texas where he's had success. I'm going to be looking at Scotty outlines. I think he wins this event by 3 to 5 strokes. And it's going to be wire to wire. I don't think ever in doubt he's going to be coming down for some revenge here this week as well. He hates losing, like he's always said. I mean, everyone hates to lose, but I think there's more to it with him. So 13-3, I think they could have priced him at like 15K this week, and I still would have played him. So I'm going to be probably locking Scotty. If I don't lock Scotty, I may potentially play like 15% of my guy Morikawa. I think he's the best odds up this range with him. Looking at Penny, Scotty's under 3-1. He's plus 284 there, and then Morikawa is plus 1200. So you got Morikawa plus 1200. You got Homa at 20-1 and Spieth at 25-1. So I think I'll play a little Morikawa possibly, but I'm going to probably be locking Scotty or playing him on everything. You look at what Spieth's been doing. I know he's a Texas guy and he's had some decent history here, but I mean, what he's been doing recently, I can't back what he's doing there. He did finally gain with the approach last week, very slightly less than a stroke, but 4 events before that, he lost with the irons. The putter's always up and down. I know he can have some voodoo magic there, but if he finishes like his last 5 events, his best finish is T29. Say he finishes T15 even here, I think he's still dead. I'm not going to play Homa either at 10-4 or 10-4. Pretty much just lock and load Scotty here and just try not to overthink it and try and get different elsewhere. I think he's going to be under-owned for what he should be.
Yeah, good points. And I mean, look, like I'm not going to sit here and say anything negative. Like you can't really say anything negative about Scotty Scheffler. I mean, the guy's incredible, and it was coming. Like he didn't have his caddy, obviously, with everything that went on, the adrenaline kind of wearing off. It's not surprising that he finally shot around over par. It's not surprising at all. I will say, I think it's an interesting tournament week for your leverage game theory bros, just because like over the years, I've made notes on there's a few events. So this is one of them where it's like, man, these ball strikers, these shorter hitters, I mean, it's not the longest course in the world. They've done well here. Grillo and Adam Schenk last year, Kokrak. I mean, Kokrak can hit it pretty good. Daniel Berger, Kevin Na, he's won here. Kisner, he's won here. Justin Rose. I think part of the longer hitter, like in Scotty's definitely right up there. A little bit of the game is taken away. Now, Scotty Scheffler, best ball striker in the world by far, best approach, best a lot of things. But, having that distance negated just a little bit, I do think brings in more of the field. And so I could be kind of overstepping myself because the Scotty plus the value range is really intriguing to me. Like going way down dumpster diving, not trying to live in this upper range, just Scotty plus your 7Ks, your values, that type of build. Really, really intriguing. The other would be, and this will be an interesting exercise that we're doing here, walking through this, is if you don't play, what if you play Colin Morikawa, or what if you start your lineups with like a Tony Finau, who we're going to talk about next? Obviously, I think it's interesting in tournaments. Now, in non-tournaments, I mean, yeah, you're crazy. You got to like your cash games. You lock Scotty, you move on. And I think another interesting argument is maybe in tournaments you take a stand. Maybe it's like you lock Scotty and you move on, or you go full game theory, bro, and you fade him, or you end up underweight. And one approach that I've taken is just reducing my overall volume, my overall exposure, and just go full leverage and target your large field, high payout tournaments. That's something that I've done and had success with in the past as well. So it's a really interesting discussion. It's going to be really interesting following ownership projections to see where they land on Scotty. But I'm not going to sit here and like say he's a bad player or anything like that. He's world number one. He's incredible. Like if you can fit him in, if you can find a way to do it, you definitely should. So let's give him a big boy projection. Like let's see where it lands. I also like Colin Morikawa. What?
He's gonna score 130 this week.
Yeah, I know, but this is just an exercise here. We're not getting crazy. This is a baseline build, okay? We're not getting absolutely crazy. We're giving moderate bumps off of the baseline value that everyone is set at to help us with roster construction. That's the goal of this exercise right here. It's not to get too crazy. So Scotty's going to have by far the biggest projection, like out of anyone. Now, Uncle T, I think Colin Morikawa, he went through this long struggle, this long phase, and now his game is trending in the right direction. So yeah, he could be disappointed, but he's a 2-time major winner. I think he just continues to build upon this momentum that he has. So I actually have interest in Colin Morikawa. I'm taking Spieth out.
The thing
Go play Spieth if you want.
Morikawa is I'm a huge Morikawa guy. I think he shot over par in the last 4 or 5 Sundays, which is pretty troubling. I'm kind of worried about, back at the TOC a couple years ago when Rahm just took his soul. He hasn't really been the same since that final round, but he did just come back with his him and his old childhood coach are back they separated last September, and he kind of went downward. So now he's bringing that coach back. So I think that could definitely help him going forward as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Players like him, you start to find something. It's all going to click eventually. I'm not worried about the Sunday thing. It's all going to click for him, eventually. I like how he's playing. And then, he needs to bring in a Sunday. Let's keep it going, though. Right back to you, Uncle T. The 9K range. Tony Finau at the top. Really interesting to hear what you have to say about him. All the way down to my boy, Harry English. What are you doing with this range?
Yeah, not overall my favorite range, but I do like a couple of these guys in here. I actually walked a couple holes when Finau played with, I think it was Stigala on Saturday. And the problem with Finau is right now, I think he's playing okay golf. His driver, I'm a little bit concerned with his driver. He usually drives it pretty well. I think he's struggling a little bit with his driver, and he just hasn't gotten hot with flat stick. But he still finished T18 last week. He did miss the cut here last year, but otherwise he's had really, really good course history here. Again, I think he needs to drive it better. If he has a good driving week, I think he could easily contend this week. His game's been trending. You're going to get him around 12, 13% probably. So I do like Tony at the top end of this range. Going down a little bit, Minwoo Lee and also Siwoo Kim. I kind of put both those guys in a similar bucket, at least in my mindset. They're both overpriced. They're both way over. And we're going to say that a lot tonight because obviously the strength of the field is definitely watered down once you get, past Scotty for the most part. But 9,700, 9,600, both guys, I think that the kind of tiebreaker for me to both of them obviously are really good golfers, had good years. But both overpriced, and neither one of them have really played well here. So what are you drawing on? Just their how they've played this year. And again, I like Finau a couple $100 above them. I'm not really going to be able to play a ton of these guys in this range, and I like guys below a little bit more. Brian Harmon, kind of had a little bit of interest in him earlier in the day, but I'm seeing he's going to be by far the highest owned in this group, it looks like, in this 9K range. So, but like we have to keep in mind real quick, Uncle T, like with the ownership, I don't see how any of these guys can be like anywhere near like considered like chalk because of what Scotty's going to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because you can't play Scotty and a Tony Finau. Or I mean, maybe you can if you're playing a 5K guy. No, I think
it's pretty difficult to do.
Yeah, I think Finau is going to be okay. At least he's sitting at 12 or 13 right now, but I'm seeing upwards of 20% on Harmon. Is that what you're seeing, Snyder? I might have looked at it wrong. I'm seeing about 20%. If I
could be way off. I could be way off on that too. I was thinking like 15, 14. But
I think the three guys in this range that are going to see ownership, I think Harmon will probably be 15, potentially up to 20, 15 to 18, maybe 20. I think Finau is going to see, 12 to 15, Minwoo 12 to 15, Siwoo 10 to 15. So I think those are the guys that are going to see some kind of just a little spread out. I mean, nothing real too chalky or anything, though.
Yeah.
But I mean, Harmon would probably be the guy.
I'm probably going to be out on Harmon, though. I mean, again, even if he's just 15 to 18, I still think that's too much, though. I mean, he's been good, not great this year. I mean, he had a T2 back at the Players in March, but he really hasn't, he hasn't necessarily contended or kind of really been in the hunt on Sunday. I'm out on him. Sungjae M is interesting. I think I'm out on him as well, but I mean, he is interesting because he's got 3 missed cuts here, sandwiched in between a T10 and a T15. And he did have a T4 and T12 prior to the missed cut last week. So he's kind of been all over the board. It's weird to say Sungjae boom bust, but recently kind of has been for the most part. He's had some good finishes and he's had some NC. So, which is not normally what we see from Sungjae. So I'm probably out on him. I do like the bottom end of this range. So I like Finau up at the top. Tom Hoagie, I think, is a really nice play. AP, you talked about good, just good ball strikers, good iron players. Hoagie's good on his approach, which is what we want this week. He's made 14 to 15 cuts this year, T23 last week. I'm in on. Now, weird part is, even though the course I think sets up really nice for him, he hasn't played well here in the past, which is interesting because I feel like his game sets up pretty solidly for this course. But we'll see how it plays out.
I think I've played him a ton here too.
Yeah, it's weird.
He always sets up so well for it, and then he just sucks here. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, and then Adam Scott, I think, Scotty won here, but it's been so long, not Scotty Scheffler, Adam Scott, but I think it's probably been, 8, 9, 10 years since he won here. But He hasn't had any top 10 since like maybe January or February. And I don't know, 9,200 for a guy that really hasn't contended or been in the hunt, in any of the tournaments the last 2-3 months. I don't know that I want to play 9,200 Adam Scott. If he was a little cheaper, I'd have a little more interest. Harris English is one of my favorite plays on the board. This one could come back to bite me, but 9K Harris English is a little more expensive than what we're normally seeing, but he's been about as consistent as anybody this year. He's got a really good short game, which I think, you could need here. Sub 10%, T12 here last year, T18 last week at the PGA. I like me some Tony Finau, some Tom Hoge, and some Harris English. Those are my top 3 guys in this 9K range.
All right, very good. Tom Hoge, I'm with you on that, man. He just profiles so well for me from a stats-based perspective. When you look at approach, hitting fairways, like good drives, another thing that I'm looking at this week as well. I got it one more time. Maybe now is the time for Hoge because his course history is not good at all. Snyder, what are you doing with the 9K range?
Yeah, the way I'm building teams, if I lock Scotty or something, I'm going to have 73.40 left for the last 5 guys, so I'm not going to be able to fit many of these guys. Like I said, the guys that are going to see the ownership, I'm just going to cross off and not play those guys at all. I'm going to target a couple guys at the bottom of this range. We just talked about Hoge. I am going to play some Hoge this week, 9,300. I think Hoge and Harris English, 2 guys I'll be looking at, are at least right now are going to be 10% or lower, which will make it pretty easy for me to still get overweight on those 2 guys, even by, Locke and Scotty or something. So I'm going to be on Tom Hoge. I mean, the irons just remain hot for him. He's gained at least or just over 6 strokes approach last week at the PGA. The downfall for Hoge has been the around the green game, but he did gain 3 strokes putting last week as well. I think that the course history will keep his ownership down. So I'm going to have some Hoge, probably be, 1.5, 2 times the field on him. And then I'm going to play English a little more than Hoge as he's at what's he at, 9K flat? Yeah, I think he'll be in that same ownership bucket, 7 to 10% potentially, hopefully lower. I generally like to play English kind of on some of these tougher tracks as well. Big rebound last week with the irons after losing 4 straight events heading in. Gained just over 3 strokes approach last week. It's been very strong with the short game over the last 50 rounds as well. 7 of his last 8 events have been T35 or better, and 6 of the last 9 have been T25 or better. And he's currently listed as the 5th best odds on Penny at plus 25.57, which is pretty close to like Spieth and some of those guys. So I'm going to opt to play Harris English the most in this range, maybe 2 to 3 times the field on him, depending on how it kind of shakes out with Saber when I run the teams through there. But I think those are the only 2 guys I'll be able to play in this range with the way I'm going to start teams out. But definitely like English the best in this range, followed by Hoge.
Yeah, very good. I have a ton of interest in Tony Finau. Very few golfers are as good with their irons into the greens, that approach play than him right now. Gained 9.6 strokes on approach alone last week at the PGA Championship. Uncle T, you hit the nail on the head. If he can find fairways, man, he's going to be right there. Like, he's definitely going to be right there. So I like his history here too. It's not terrible. And I just think his game is starting to trend in the right direction if he can just get off the tee, find a fairway, and make some putts. Everything else is clicking with Tony Finau. So I think he's a fun bet this week. I definitely think the price tag, it's up there. It definitely is. Yeah. But I think he's a really intriguing play. I have a little interest in Brian Harmon and then Tom Hoge as well. I like Harris English. He's in the pool, but, man, the price tag does feel a little high on him as well. So I'm keeping more players kind of in the pool here, moderately bumping up a few of these. Tom Hoge, that was kind of our consensus. I would say stats-based play in this range. Uncle T, let's go back to you. AK range, Thomas Dietrich, who was, hey, I got to, that was one of my guys I was talking about on the show last week. So toot my own horn there. But he was a hero for me last week. And then Keegan Bradley right there with them. This range is interesting because Tom Kim has showed some life as well. And then all the way up to my boy, Bezade now. What are you doing with the pretty interesting 8K range this week.
Yeah, a couple of these guys were on my main team last week. One of them hurt my feelings, and one of them crushed. The guy that crushed, I was with you. I was on Thomas Dietrich, 6,200 last week. He crushed for us. Had him on my main team. The guy that did not crush for me last week, that I'm just going to be out on because I just can't get the guy right, is Keith Mitchell. Really hurt my feelings last week. 8,600 for Big Keith. I can't do it for him, so I'll be out on him. But this range in general, I'm anxious to kind of lean on you guys on this range, because it feels like a lot of these guys, again, we're going to say it all night, but a lot of these guys feel like they're clearly $400, $500, $600, $700, maybe in some cases too expensive, but they grade out pretty well in this range. Like even Bezuidenhout, however you pronounce it, he was playing some really, really good golf all, the last couple months. He missed the cut last week, but he was on, you can't fault the guy for missing a cut at a major. And, but again, 8,900, we're used to paying 78, 77, 79, in that range for this guy, but he does grade out and he looks like he sets up well for this course. There's a lot of guys in this range are like 40 to 1 to win the golf tournament. So, which is a, pretty low, percentage, I think, or odds. Billy Horschel. I've been hearing a lot of Billy Horschel this week. Probably deservedly so. He closed with a 64 on Sunday. 64 for Horschel on Sunday to backdoor the T8 last week. He grades out well. And then we get to our boy Denny McCarthy, who doesn't have the best history here, but Denny's had some really good chances on Sunday this year. He's got a T2 and a T6 on his resume, so he grades out well. And then you get to Justin Rose, who literally turned back the clock, and turned back time with how he played last week at Valhalla. He was crushing. I mean, he played really, really good. He has some pretty good history here. He putted. The one thing I'll caution on Rose is he was crushing with the putter last week. So I don't know if you can ride the hot putter with Rosie again this week, but he's definitely worth a look. And then two guys I really like, though, that I probably won't get talked off. AP, you'll like one of them for sure. Our boy Sepp Straka. He did let us down a little bit last week with the MC for sure. But prior to that, again, really good golf prior to that. I like him here as a little bit of a flop lag. 8,300, I think, is fair in this field. So like me some Sepp Straka. And I might be back on board with maybe Tom Kim a little bit. This one might backfire because I do think he's going to have a little bit of ownership more than anyone in this range. So I'm a little teetering on Tom Kim, but I think I might buy back in. He lives locally there in the Dallas area. He's making his debut here, if I'm not mistaken. But T26 last week, I like Tommy Kim. And then the two guys at the bottom range, AP, that we talked about from last week, Bradley and Dietrich, they both played really, really good. I feel like I like too many guys in this range because those guys grade out well as well, or grade out good as well. So I like a lot of this range. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to have to make some cuts between now and tomorrow night when I build my teams. But right now, I like this range quite a bit, other than Keith Mitchell.
Yeah, it really is an interesting range, just because there's a lot of viable names that you could definitely see up at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the week. Snyder, up to you. Since you're locking Scotty, I mean, how does this range kind of fall into that strategy by locking Scotty? Because the 8K guys have to be somewhat more attractive than the 9K guys, obviously, in those Scotty builds.
Yeah, for sure. I think Uncle T broke this range down really good. I'll hit on the few guys that I like the best. I don't think I'll be able to really fit too many in this range, though, because I'm just going to mix and match a ton of the 7K guys. And I think it's going to be tough to kind of get 6 of 6s through this week. So I'll be trying to get as much made cut equity as I can into a lot of teams. But the three guys that really stuck out to me the most in this 8K range was the first guy is going to be Billy Horschel. I think he's playing some very, very strong golf this year. He ranks second in the field in strokes gained total over the last 36 rounds. He won the Punta Cana about a month ago, comes off that strong showing last week at the PGA Championship with that strong final round. T8, gaining over 10 strokes total in that for the event there. He was T7 at the Houston earlier, T12 at the Valspar, T9 at the Cognizant. So he's been putting up some solid finishes. He's minus 130 versus Dietrich in the matchup markets as well. So I think Billy Ho is going to be my favorite guy in this range I'll be going to. And then the next guy is going to be a flop leg guy right there. in Sepp Straka. I'm going to go right back to Sepp Straka this week. He's just playing too good over the last 5 to 6 weeks to kind of get off him there. He gained over 4 strokes approach last week. It was just a horrible week with the short game for him there in those 2 rounds there. He lost over 4 strokes with the short game last week. I'm real willing to continue to bet on this strong ball striking that he's been showing, the last 5 or 6 weeks, like I said. So Sepp's back in the pool for me this week. Some flop leg. Hopefully some people get off him after quite a few got burned on him last week. And I'm seeing him, probably right around 12%, maybe 11 to 15% or something like that. So I'll be back on Sepp. And then I think Keegan has one of the best upside price tags on the slate here at 8.1K. Wouldn't surprise me if he came out here and just was a guy in contention come Sunday. He's a favorite over Keith Mitchell in the matchup markets as well, minus 125 over him. He's been hitting the irons very strong, plus 3 strokes the last 4 events. I think Keegan is a great upside guy. I don't think he's going to get too terribly high owned either. I'm seeing him, right now probably like 9 to 13% owned, so it'll be pretty easy to get over him. I think he's one of the best upside plays on this slate at the price tag there on the whole slate, I think.
Yeah, very good. I'm really with you guys on Billy Horschel. He's just such a momentum type of play, type of golfer. We got to ride that hot streak while he has it. I mean, he looked phenomenal. And then Sepp Straka, I bumped him up a lot in this range or in relation to the range. What does Sepp do really well? He hits fairways and he's good on approach. Now, if he can make some putts, it's going to be a good Sepp week. So I absolutely like Sepp Straka. I'm under on a few of these guys like Denny. I'm just torn on. And so what I'm doing, I'm leaving him in there just because I feel like I want to leave more golfers in there because we are so aggressive on Scotty Scheffler this week. I just want to see how the builds fall and how it looks kind of without altering things too much off of the baseline projection. So again, in this range, it's Sepp Straka. I think that's a consensus play. I think we all like Billy Horschel. I have a little interest in Bezadenhout. I think Keith Mitchell is the one I want to uncheck. I'm going to leave him in there. I bumped him down, so I don't think he's going to be relevant at all, but I don't feel good about him at all. And Kirky too would be the other guy as well. Kirky's my guy, so I'm going to leave him in there, but I'm not going to bump him up. Uncle T, back to you. 7K range. Let's get through it.
Yeah, the 7K range for me is interesting because it's a pretty good range. We got, maybe 20 golfers or so, but based on how I want to do it and kind of just talking through it with the show with you guys here and how I'm kind of, while you guys are talking, I'm kind of playing with some teams. And again, I'm going to be under on Scotty. I want that to be clear. And that I could be toast on Friday. And I'm going to have him, but I'm definitely going to be under the field. I don't mind starting some teams. AP, you might have mentioned it, maybe even starting with Finau. And I kind of like the way some of these builds look as I'm going through. And again, clearly that could backfire on me, but I'm kind of liking maybe starting down with Tony Finau. So where I'm going with that is I did like a lot of those 8K guys. And then in this 7K, I'll just mention a couple of them because there's so many, but like Mav McNeely, 7,700 feels, again, like a really nice play in this range, 50 to 1 to win the golf tournament. Good price point, I think, for him. He had a nice showing last week at the PGA T23. He's made 11 of 12 cuts this year. I think Mav is a very, very solid and an honest price tag here at 7,700. Going down a little bit, Austin Eckroat, 7,500. I was able to watch 2-3 holes with him on Saturday. This guy, I think he could be one of the nice, kind of rising guys the next couple of years to where I'm not saying he's going to be, maybe a top 10 golfer, but I think he's going to be one of these guys. He's got the ability and the talent level, I think, to really start kind of moving his way up the rankings a little bit and up the charts, if you will. I like him quite a bit. T18 last week, T16 here last year. I just think his game's on a little bit, on an incline right now. So I like Austin Eckroat. Andrew Putnam, he's a guy I think is really kind of cheap here at 7,400. 45 to 1 to win the golf tournament, 7,400. He's 45 to 1 right now on DK Sportsbook. Good value in this range. He's got 4 top 20s this year, and he's made 11 to 13 cuts. So again, when you're trying to filter in some of these 7K guys, it's always about value. We always know that 7K range and lower 7K range, especially most weeks, is where we're going to grab our value guys. So like Putnam, I'll just mention two other guys. Adam Schenk, I had him quite a bit a couple weeks back when he finished T13, did well for me. T2 here last year, I think he finished runner-up. He might have lost it might have been a playoff last year.
Yeah, he lost to Grillo in the playoff.
Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember if it was a playoff or not. So has obviously some good vibes here. I like Adam Schenk. Again, good value, 7,400. Nice, easy plug and play. And then one guy at the bottom of the range, and I'll talk about one other guy that I think, for me at least, an easy fade. And I could be off. Let me get to him right now. Nikolai Hogard. I'm seeing like upwards of 20% ownership at 7,300. Clearly, he's a very good golfer, and it looks like maybe a little bit underpriced. But if he's going to be upwards of 20% owned at 7,300, I want no part of that. I'll just gladly fade. And if he has a good week and people are on him and beat me, I'm okay with that. So if that's true, I'm off on him, off of Hogard. Doug Gim. I haven't played a whole lot of Doug Gim since the beginning of the year. But I don't know. It feels like, again, that guy, he withdrew from Myrtle Beach a couple weeks ago. And then, he went and played the PGA last week, T35, made the cut, solid showing. But I think he sets up decent. He's got a couple missed cuts here at this track, but also a T14. So, again, value as always for me in this range. And, again, Grillo, the defending champ, he's at 7,100, getting no love to kind of come back and defend his title. So I'll probably have Grillo in the pool as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really struggling this year as well. Snyder, 7K range. I'm doing this range. This range is bigger, okay? Yeah. So I'm doing it differently. As you guys talk about them, I'm bringing them into the pool or leaving them out. So, again, you can touch on anyone that you can echo anything that Uncle T did. But if you got other golfers, too, that you're on that aren't in the pool, make sure to talk about those.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have quite a bit of this range mixed in. The guy that sticks out to me the most from an odds standpoint is Austin Eckroat at 7,500. He's got the best odds. You're looking at Penny right here where I usually do. I mean, Eckroat's got the same odds as Denny, Minwoo, Tom Hoagie. They're all in that 50 to 5,300 range. Sepp Straka is right there. So Eckroat's the guy that really jumps off the page to me from an odds standpoint. So I'll be well overweight on Eckroat. Lee Hodges is a guy I like to play when he gets things going. T24 at the Wells Fargo, T12 last week, gained over 7 strokes ball striking. Last week at the PGA, the putter's been there the last 2 weeks, so I'll be on him. I'm going to go to my guy Rio Hisatune here at 7,100, I think. Top 20 last week at the PGA Championship. He was T13 at the Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch, so I think he's another strong option here at the bottom of this range. I'm going to try and just pepper this 7K range and see if I can get the majority of my teams to either end here or have one guy under 7K range. Bo Hostler's Texas guy. Lucas Glover jumps out to me. Some of the guys that are popping to me, other guys like Andrew Putnam, Lucas Glover, I think they're great values for this type of field. Really easy to fit those guys in with Scotty too. Matt McNeely, 7,700. I'm not going to play Poston, I don't think. I do like Doug Gim at 71. I think he's strong. Aaron Rice, 7,800. Like Mark Hubbard, 77. I think some of these guys are just as good as like that 8K range. Wouldn't surprise me to see a lot of these.
I love how Uncle T went, higher price guy and down nice and organized, and Snyder's just bouncing all around. Can't even keep track
and stuff. Yeah, I'm just bouncing around the course history and projections and the guys that are really jumping out to me odds wise and such.
What about Mark Hubbard? Did you? Yeah, we don't have him checked in. Are you considering him?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He was top 10 here last year. T26 last week at the PGA. He's had some good finishes. He's a really good cut maker, and that's one of the things I'm really putting emphasis on is cut makers, I think, this week. I think Nikolai Hogard will probably be the chalkiest.
What about Daniel Berger? Because, Daniel Berger was dead to us, but a T13 at the AT&T. What?
He's interesting for sure. That event, he beat Morikawa in the playoff coming off COVID there, and he's got a couple other good finishes. So, yeah, he's going to be in the pool for me as well as 7-8.
Yeah, because we're not getting a lot of ownership on him too. I thought he looked decent at the AT&T, and he has good history here. He's hitting fairways, and he's always been good with his irons. It comes down to making putts.
Yeah,
and
Adam Shanks, another guy right there at 7-4. He was second here last year. He was T13 at the Byron Nelson there at TPC Craig Ranch. So I think he's another guy I'll be looking at off the miss cut. Hopefully that keeps his ownership down. I'm seeing a lot of these guys in the 7K range lower owned than I thought we were going to see with the ownership Scotty's going to have, which is actually going to give me that leverage I need, I think, when playing Scotty and a bunch of these 7K guys.
Yeah, very good. Let's keep this going, though, as we're up against it time-wise. 6K range. Uncle T, back to you. And again, my last comments on the 7K range was I love Adam Shank. The Ekro call, he's mispriced. He's absolutely mispriced. I gave him a big bump. I thought Berger's interesting. I really like Two Gloves, Aaron Rye, just a ball striker type of course. So those are kind of the guys that I was higher on.
Quick note on Aaron Rye. So I followed him for around a hole or two. Did
you ask him about the iron covers?
Real quick, it won't take long. So it literally is 90. The humidity is brutal on Saturday, right? We're just baking out there on the seventh. We're sitting behind the par 5 7th green, and it's just there's no shade. And my man comes up to the green. He's got black shoes, black pants, black shirt, and 2 black gloves. And I'm like, what an idiot! You know what I mean?
I saw that.
So, but yeah, going down into this range, like I said, in the shows previous to this last couple weeks, guys, we've liked a lot. I'll just hit on a couple. I know we're up against it. We're running a little long. Like S.H. Kim, Alex Smalley.
You're good, Uncle T. Take your time. You're good. Yeah. I just didn't know how deep we're going in the 5K range as well.
Yeah, I'm probably not going very deep at all in the 5. So I'll mention a couple of these. S.H. Kim, Alex Smalley, both at 6,700, I think, are fine plays. S.H. Kim, T4 at the CJ Cup. That's when he kind of cost me when he eagled 18 there when I had that sweat a couple weeks back, but I won't definitely hold out against him. Not a bad play there. And then going down a little bit, I do like actually one guy a lot in this range. I just kind of noticed it when I checked him earlier. Justin Lauer, 6,400 feels like he, believe it or not, is a little misplaced. I think he should be in the high 6Ks, maybe even 7K in this field. He missed the cut in Myrtle Beach, but went T24 and T4 in the 2 events prior, and I was on him both of those events. So I kind of like him for a nice value down in this range, 6,400. And a guy that I think is kind of just name-wise in the wrong spot is Adam Svensson. I don't know how much I like him this week, but he definitely feels from the talent level a golfer he is, 6,400 in this lesser field. I do think he's interesting. I don't know what the ownership is on him, so that could dictate whether or not I like him later on. Matty Schmidt, that'll be the last guy I mentioned. I played him a little bit a few weeks back in a few tournaments. He's got a couple nice finishes, the last couple months. 6,300, I think, is a fair price tag. And then even our old goat, Charlie Hoffman, 6,600. I can't remember last time I played Charlie, but 6,600, he's got pretty good course history here. Maybe filter him in a little bit.
Yeah, very good. Snyder, 6K range. What are you doing down here?
Yeah, the guys that kind of jump out to me off first look in this range. I haven't really dove deep into the 6 and 5s as yet too much, but like Adam Svensson's down there. I think he'll be fine. Grayson Murray's been playing decent. 6,100 for him. I don't know if I can get the Matt Kuchar or not. 62.
No, you definitely can't.
Probably not. I really don't like too many down here. I mean, Dylan Wu's down here, Sam Ryder, both at the bottom of the range. Andrew Novak, 6,300.
Yeah, I like Novak.
Those guys are fine. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Novak was one that I added and bumped and bumping up. He's been consistent for us. He really has. CT Pan was another one that I added. Again, I don't want to, like, if you're going the Scotty route, I wouldn't feel like really comfortable with a lot of these guys. I think the 7K range is really strong, and I liked a lot that I saw in the 8K range as well. So I'd want to be a little cautious in going too heavy with the 6K range. Uncle T, any 5Ks that we should add back to the pool?
Yeah, just a couple names in the 5K range that I don't think I'm going to get there. So I do want to make that clear because, again, I'm going to be under on Scotty, even though clearly I get it. But my builds, it looks like I'll be under there and try to start a little bit lower because I like the way the builds look for me this week. Chad Ramey, 5,900. Wouldn't mind him. Davis Riley feels like, again, for the level of golfer and being able to compete in some of these tournaments and getting in there for – a chance on Sunday, a few of these events, he feels too cheap. T4 a couple of years ago here. And then going all the way down, a guy that's interesting, not necessarily that, but like Ryan Palmer, his game has just completely fallen off the map. He's a member here, but 5,200. I don't, like I said, I'm not going to have him, but it's just interesting because he's used to been one of those guys the last couple of years in that mid 7K range that we like to filter and play. Wow, is his game really fallen off? I just thought it interesting. And then there's a ton of sponsors exemptions in here, and you got these guys like Webb Simpson just getting sponsor exemption after sponsor exemption. I just don't get it. But I can't make a case for a lot of these guys at all. I mean, Chad Ramey could I might have mentioned him. Chad Ramey and Davis Riley might be my two favorites. So
yeah, Snyder, back to you. Any Ben Knowles love? Just he was awesome at the AT&T, and I thought he played well last week at the PGA.
Yeah, he's been a soldier maybe once or twice this year. I'm going to go right back to Ben Knowles. I think he's my favorite play in this 5K range if I had to pick one. I mean, he was second at TPC Craig Ranch, made the cut in San Antonio as well, so he's played decent here in Texas. Last week he was T26 at the PGA Championship, lost almost 3 strokes around the green, but was very strong the rest of the way last week. The guy, Mr. Malnetti's down there. I think he's fine to sprinkle in there. That Sammy Valnaki, I think he's fine. As another guy in the 5K range. Seeing if I find any other guys that I was looking at.
And this is a range I definitely don't
Mac
want
Messner, I guess, 5,900. He's a Texas guy. He played college golf at SMU, so I think Mac Messner's
What was his price?
5,900.
Okay.
He's just a Texas guy. He played golf at SMU there. I think he's fine.
Yeah, I don't have. I mean, like I was looking at Party Martin Laird. I don't know. Kevin Streelman actually has played pretty well here. T9 last year. So I added him back. I don't want to get crazy with this range. I don't want to get crazy with the 6Ks. I don't want to get crazy with the 5Ks. I mean, if our boy Scotty Scheffler does very well and you happen to just like find the crazy low, 5K, 6K price player that top 10s, you're going to be sitting pretty good. That's very difficult to do. A lot more landmines down in the 6K and 5K range. So again, we were moderate with how we bumped those guys. We brought them back to the player pool. They might not even like factor in into this build. So it's going to be interesting. So I am going to run this using the settings that we have been using. Let's just go 20 lineups. I don't like leaving a ton of salary. I always do just, as a baseline build, Sim Diversity 5. We don't need all 5,000 in our pool. And, we're going to run this, and we're going to see what it looks like. As we're running this, let's go on to our winners, and then we'll go through our top 3 builds like we do each and every week. Snyder, I'm going to start with you for your winners. Who do you got? I mean, we all know that you think Scotty's going to win, so give us a longer-ish shot that you think maybe has a chance to win this week.
If there's a market out there that I can find where Scotty's like 3 to 5 shot winner or more, I think I would look to take that. He's 12-1 to be the first round leader too. I think that's a solid option. But I mean, I would look at maybe Harris English at 33-1. He's a guy I would look at. Depending on the odds where you get it, I do like Eckroat. I'm trying to figure out what his odds are like on FanDuel. Let me try and find him quick because he's got way better odds, I think, on Penny. Yeah, 55-1. You can get Eckroat at 55-1 at a couple spots. BetMGM 50-1 at FanDuel. So Eckroat, I think, would be a guy I would look at, I think, for a longer shot. But I think it's just going to be a landslide here with Scotty, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, very good. So Eckroat is the longer shot that Snyder has. Uncle T, who are your winners this week?
Yeah, the bad part about going second, he grabbed a couple of the guys I really like, but because I like English and I like Eckroat. But the guy I think is going to win again here this week, if it's not Scotty, I think it's going to be Tony Finau, 25 or so to 1. You might even be able to get a better number.
You get 34 on Penny. I don't know.
34? Wow.
On Penny, yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So Tony Finau, AP, I like him quite a bit. If it's not going to be Scotty up top, I do think Finau has a great chance this week for sure. If he gets off to a good start on Thursday, look for him. And then a guy a little bit further down the board, I did like Eckroat, but I'll go with our boy Sepp Straka. I think, again, coming off the miscut, he was playing some good golf prior to that. I'm going to go with Sepp Straka. His number is not too long, maybe 45-1.
Yeah, FanDuel's 45, yeah.
Yeah, man, I like how this course sets up for Colin Morikawa. I could take the easy road out and say Scotty. I don't like it as a bet, but I think Colin Morikawa's live. I think it's hopefully we don't get that kind of hangover week. Hopefully he takes this momentum and moves forward. Because the other guy I was looking at, I was with you, Uncle T, on Tony Finau. But give me Colin Morikawa up top, and then give me Billy Ho. 40-1. I like how Billy Horschel's playing right now. Maybe you could I'm looking at DraftKings Sportsbook odds. Maybe you could get better odds somewhere else, but I like riding the momentum with our boy Billy Ho. So for this exercise, I always sort by projected score, and then I'm putting in 3 men uniques just to diversify out a little bit. I mean, look at that. We're Scotty Scheffler, and again, we didn't give him a 130 projection. We gave him a modest bump up off the baseline. And here's the one issue is, and what we're going to have to be careful with is, you can see it right here. We got two 5K guys into these builds here. So while those could work, and you got Colin Morikawa there too, I don't think this build is going to work. So you're going to want to be somewhat cautious with your settings, maybe create some rules. A couple of rules off the top of my head that I would consider is grouping all of the 5Ks into a bucket and saying no more than one. Grouping all of the 6Ks into a bucket that you're considering and saying no more than one, so that you're not getting too many of them into your lineups as well.
I think you might even want to do, if Scotty, max one of 9K and plus or something or eliminate the 10K range. If you're going to play Scotty, that'll eliminate those type of builds. Maybe max one of 8,500 to 9,900 or something like that.
I want to do one other thing real quick. I want to run the contest sims too, because based off the ownership, and I think the 31% is light. I think he has to be 40%? Is that what you thought, Snyder? Right in the 40% range, 40, 45
I think,
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think he probably will come in 40 to 45%. Yeah.
So sorting by risk adjusted. So that's good. This is where I think it is really interesting is, the highest build that came up from a risk adjusted standpoint is not going to be one of those. It's going to be Colin Morikawa up top, and then more of a mid-tier, and then, maybe 1 or 2 6K type of guys. And I think a step even further is starting with Tony Finau. And again, inside of the, we don't have that properly reflected with the projections and the bumps that we did, but I do think it's interesting. Here's another one where it's Scotty and then, kind of a mid-tier range. I will say, the 5Ks are what makes it interesting. And I mean, Snyder, in cash, could you just consider punting go Scotty, 1 5K guy? What's your kind of baseline thoughts from a cash head-to-head perspective? I wouldn't mind punting, especially with a Davis Riley 5,800, just a guy that's been playing really well, because it does open up your build a little bit. It allows you to play maybe an 8K or a 9K Tom Hoagie. Do you have any general thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Ben Coles is the play there. If you play Scotty and Ben Coles, you're left with 77.50, which opens up your build a lot. And Cole's been making some cuts. I think he's got a lot of, even top 20 equity in this field too, more than I would normally give him. And he's popping in some of the projections I'm looking at too. So I'll be interested to see if he still stays in that 6 to 8% range, or if he kind of gets bumped up as we come into Wednesday night. But I think that's the route you want to go right now for cash, is like Scotty, Coles, and then kind of a mid-tier build like Putnam, Glover, Mav. A lot of those guys in that mid 7K range are really popping as well.
Yeah, and I mean, this is going to be extremely unique, starting with Max Homa and then Tony Finau. But like, look, you can make quite a bit work, and you don't have to. But the thing is those, like Scotty, is the more that we look at it, and when you apply proper projections, some rules, you got to take this like 2 or 3 steps further. This is a baseline to give us an idea of what what our baseline type of builds look like, what roster construction at a very, very high level looks like. For me, it's I think I'm going to really like Scotty, and I might be more on the side of just like locking him, and because it's like, what are the other options? And I mean, it's Tony Finau, Colin Morikawa. I mean, maybe Max Homa. I really do not feel too comfortable with those guys.
Yeah, you look at what Scotty's done just on the game log there. He put up 140 at the Players, 120 at the Masters, 132 at the Heritage, 122 at the API, 123 at the Waste Management, 133 at the Century, 142 at the Hero. I mean, he's been putting up some pretty big scores. He only had 97 though last week though. So I mean, I don't think the field here is anywhere near last week. So I kind of throwing that one out the window.
Here's one last exercise just to see from like that's interesting. I like this tool. I can take out the 5K guys. I could keep going and take out the 6K guys. And so it's going to show me the lineups where Scotty's in there, but it's without those 5K type of plays. And so I like how this sets up. Scotty, Adam Schenk, we all like Schenk, Billy Ho, Smalley we talked about, Eckroat, obviously mispriced. I mean, this type of build looks really good. Here's another one as well. So the Scotty route is interesting. I'm liking it quite a bit. And I think I really think it's you lock them and you move on and you try to get that nut combination, or you go full game theory, maybe dial back your play, and you get fully different. So I don't think there's a wrong way. It just comes down to whatever your style is. If you're full contrarian, or if you're just on the side of locking Scotty. So Uncle T, any final thoughts?
No, I thought it was a good show. Again, it's just different ways to go this week, in my opinion. Again, you guys are more on the lock Scotty. I'm more on the go under Scotty. And again, clearly knowing I could be cooked pretty quick, but I just like the way the builds look. We'll see how it plays out. The best part about fantasy golf is, like all our sport, hey, if it doesn't work out, we just move on, and we'll move on to the RBC Canadian Open, and then you got the Memorial, and then we're at Pinehurst. So some good stretch of golf here for us to break down each week. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, only 3 weeks for the next major, so that's something to look forward to. But no, good luck this week, everybody, and good luck in your contest.
Yeah, Snyder, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a good event here. Looking forward to it. We'll have all the content up later today. The playbook and all that'll be up as well. So the showdown content will continue as well.
Awesome, good stuff. All right, for Snyder, Uncle T, I'm AP. Good luck and run Pier this week.